Minnesota Fighting Vikings general manager Rick Spielman had a pre-draft press conference with the local media jackals today. And, you know, if you've ever had like a virtual happy hour on one of those Zoom platforms where if you get more than, say, 4 people on there, it turns into just a complete poop show, gong show, whatever show. So just imagine, what was it, like 25 media members on with Rick Spielman? So now, Rick Spielman is the master of Rick speak. We all know this. We have no intention of trading Percy Harvin at this time. Like, Rick has ruined lies. Like, to be honest, if Rick Spielman could tell the absolute truth, like full-on sodium pentothal in the veins truth for the rest of his life, and no one would still believe him. Like, if Rick Spielman said the water is wet, I'm touching that MF in water just to make sure. Like, don't trust but verify with Rick Spielman, sure. But yeah, he talked about the draft, and you always have to take everything with a grain of salt. Rick is the master of, well, he talked, all right, so the press conference was like 34 minutes. He talked for probably about 33 of them while reporters asked questions. Like, he is so good at just filling air with words and like word salad that mean nothing. It feels like it feels like he said something substantial, but then you go back and look at it, it's like, wait a minute. Said nothing at all. It's really amazing. It's really PR, political spin. It is really good. Like, honestly, Rick Spielman should be like a White House press secretary. He'd be really good at that. So there you go. But the virtual draft coming up. Rick mentioned that everything went smooth except for one, hiccup, one boner on Monday, which we all heard about. So it's not I think it'll go relatively smoothly unless like the Russian hackers come in just like completely derail this draft, which would be actually kind of funny. Or like Zoom just completely crashes, or whatever NFL partner Microsoft program that they put out there. It'd be hilarious. But getting into what he said, so production value, he led off with Stefon Diggs. Well, it came a little bit later on, but you know what I mean. So Stefon Diggs, he said this, quote, "We had no intention of trading Diggs at the combine. He's trolling." Oh my God, he's trolling. He was a great player for us. He was great in the community. It was an opportunity that came up and evolved that we felt was good for Stefon and for us. So we decided to go ahead and make the trade. But we'll always appreciate everything that Stefon has done for us here in Minnesota and wish him nothing but the best, end quote. So you notice that Rick said, appreciate what he does in the community when talking about a player, as well as wish them nothing but the best. He said that multiple times. I feel like that's pretty boilerplate. Yeah, whatever. But that Buffalo deal materialized in 8 hours. Immediately after the Diggs, the Cousins contract extension, and then the Diggs time for a new beginning, ... tweet, that whole thing. And Rick refused to go into when he knew that Diggs wanted out, even though Cousins earlier said that it was pretty apparent. And yeah, anyone with 2 eyes, 2 ears, and 2 brain cells knew that Stefon Diggs for the past year has been trying to push his way out, lingering issues. So if it's a problem with Cousins, was it a problem with the front office? Was it a problem with Zimmer? Was it a problem in the office? I don't know. Either way, he wasn't a happy camper, and the Vikings got a nice little haul for Stefon Diggs there. When asked about the draft, he said this, quote, "Truly, every draft is important to us. We prepared just as hard for other drafts as we have for this draft. I know the difference is a lot of these guys that we're bringing in are going to have to probably contribute and play for us next year," end quote. So 2 first rounders, 5 in the top 105, should have a nice little bite of this meaty draft coming in. So if he's being truthful there, does that mean they're not going to be taking long-term projects early? You go with safer, higher floor players rather than high ceiling, low floor guys, medical check guys. So that could mean no Laviska Shenault, no Prince Tega Wanogho, no Clavon Chason, maybe even no Javon Kinlaw. I mean, he's a project in his own right. Maybe no Ashton Davis, the safety from Cal, who probably needs the most medical rechecks of any player in this draft. If he's telling the truth, could the Vikings just go the safe route? Maybe understandable. Also, I think that rules out a day 1, day 2 quarterback that was probably off the menu anyway with Cousins on his extension. So, no Hurts, no Loves, no Eason, thank God, and no Jake from State Farm. No big deal. When asked about this historic wide receiver group, Rick Spielman said, quote, "This has to be one of the deepest classes I've ever seen in a long time. I would say there's all kinds of flavor. There's speed guys, with returnability, bigger guys that are excellent route runners. We have a pretty good sense of the type of receiver that helps the quarterback and what's important in those traits. There are a lot of good options, and like I said, I don't think only in the first round you can get a lot of good receivers throughout the entire draft." So speaking of the word salad, I mean, he said a lot of things there. What can you really take away from it? There's a lot of good receivers. There's fast guys, tall guys, short guys, things that, blah, blah, blah. Sure. And maybe he did tip that the Vikings may not go wide receiver first round, but again, maybe it's a jiu-jitsu move by Rick Spielman. It's like, oh, we're not going to go wide receiver in the first round. Oh, there we go, wide receiver in the first round. There we go. Justin Jefferson, maybe, even though, or Denzel Mims or Laviska Shenault or Jalen Reagor or T. Higgins or whatever. Just boom, there it is right there. But it's also not going on too big of a limb saying that there's a lot of solid day 2 and even early day 3 receivers, which I think there are. I mean, we talked about the Vikings do pass up going receiver early, especially in the first round, and then go at different positions of need potentially, even though BPA position of need. It's nice that BPA sort of syncs up with how you expect the board to fall when the Vikings do pick at 22, 25, 58, etc. But yeah, as far as wide receivers, end of the 3rd round, top of the 4th round, probably get some pretty decent week 1 contributors there as well. When asked about Anthony Harris, he said this quote, I know we have some big changes in the secondary. One of the things, not only is Anthony Harris a great football player for us and great in the community, but by us being able to franchise Anthony, we do have the safeties pretty well set, knowing that we're going to have a lot of young corners we're going to have to line up and play with, end quote. So I think they are keeping all options with Anthony Harris open, but I think extension talks have stalled before the draft because I think the Vikings do want to take a good look at some of these big safeties in the draft. Look at Delpit, look at Winfield, look at McKinney, look at Ashton Davis, maybe he's off the menu, look at the physical freak Jeremy Chin, etc. I think it would be smart to extend Anthony Harris. Probably not to that long 3, 4, 5 year deal. 5 year like Kevin Byron got would be ridiculous because Anthony Harris is going to be 29. So I think it's still unlikely that he plays on his franchise tag just because Rick mentioned the salary cap a number of times. So I think that they could work out a long-term deal, give the Vikings a little bit of 2020 salary cap relief if they do want to go after Trent Williams, if they do want to bring back Everson Griffin, etc. So I do think the Vikings have the options open. They may still trade him if the Vikings get the safety they want and another team whiffs, etc. So we'll see. 2 more. So when asked about the Cousins contract, essentially said this quote, I think with the ability to extend him out and also give us some cap relief to do things in free agency, it was a win-win for both sides. Well, I mean, you didn't do a ton with the relief. I mean, it's not like you went out and got Thuney or Trent Williams or whatever, or Jason Peters. Like, where's he at, right? They signed Michael Pierce, no tackle, replace Linval. Respect, love the signing. And he signed Anthony Zettel and Tajay Sharp to near veteran minimum deal. So, where's the beef? Where's the beef, man? That's what I want now. And lastly, the aforementioned Everson. He said this quote, I don't think things broke down. I've had some great conversations with Everson. It just seems like all the players that we've talked about, the Linval Josephs of the world, the Xavier Rhodes, Josh Klein, some of the guys, we've had to make some very, very difficult decisions on, and it goes on from there, end quote. So, I mean, Spielman sort of shut the door, didn't seem as open as it probably very likely is between the Vikings and Everson running it back. But also, I mean, knowing Spielman, this could be a stone cold bluff. This could be a full on feint. Make teams think that they're in the market for an edge at 22, 25. It's like, oh, come on, boys. You want Epinesa? You want Gross Matos? Come and get him. Yeah, that's right. Versus, hell yeah, we're bringing Everson back. We have no needs at edge at all. So, yeah, we're not going to take Gross Matos. We're going to take that. And, yeah, like we said, I actually do think there is a pretty significant likelihood that Everson does come back to the Vikings. What's impacting Everson's free agency is that he can't get in for medical checks. He can't get in for one-on-ones. He can't do all those things because teams are going to want to do a lot of digging, both on Everson's mental state, where he missed a couple games in 2018. So I actually think that it is going to be best for all parties involved if he does come back to the Vikings and keeps bringing that leadership, keeps bringing that stank off the edge, as well as maybe playing a little bit inside, taking on that veteran Brian Robinson role a la a couple years ago. A couple notes here. So no one asked him about Trent Williams or Stefon Diggs. I mean, So, the Trent Williams question is sort of like the elephant in the room since everything's flying around. Stefon Diggs is a first-round caliber cornerback, but does he have issue with the way that they did his brother? Does he have similar feelings about the franchise as his brother obviously did? That would have been worthwhile. Mentioned that there was a lot of defensive replacements will come from this draft class. So I think he's hammering on cornerback, potentially edge, although Timofati, maybe safety, depending on what happens with Anthony Harris, maybe some defensive interior alignment as well. He mentioned that trades just because of the nature of 10-minute clock and technological snafus that trades could be locked in earlier than they traditionally have, where draft day trades happens all the time. So you may see teams the next couple days before the draft goes down on Thursday start moving along, even though they don't know how the board is going to break. I mean, it just is what it is this year. And also, of course, he's gotten we've had calls to trade up and trade back. Well, that covers both bases. Neat. As well as you talked about the value of if you do see a number of players in similar value when you're selecting, and you do have the opportunity to move back and get some extra picks and still come away with a great player, that's his MO. And we've seen Spielman do that several times. He pointed out notably Alexander Madison last year, where they traded back like 4 or 5 times in the third round. It was really annoying. On the last pick of the third round, they got Madison, the guy they won all along. So it worked out. They had some extra draft capital. They were able to move up to get Drew Samia, which is something that he talked about as well, being able to move up and get your guy, as well as if you have plenty of guys, moving back, still getting your guy and getting some extra stank as well. So what did we learn? Absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing per usual from a Rick Spielman press conference, but All right, so your thoughts, pretty Ricky Spielman's press conference. Zoom. Let us know in the comment section below. Subscribe for daily Vikings takes. You want to support the work, pull us up in the Venmo. Plus give us a follow on social media as well. But until next time, Skull, production value.